Hey everybody, the name of the channel is ASD-Docs, D-O-C-S. The link is in the description. Please go over and subscribe, and don't forget to tell them News Now California sent you, and I will see you over there. I am posting this video. It is the last video of a 3-series video on a individual who was set up by the police to admit to rape. It is a very disturbing series. I am so glad that this channel put this video series out. This video series proves how corrupt the system is, how dirty the police are. It goes all the way to the top. And remember, once you get involved with dealing with the police on charges, your life can go in shambles.
What am I doing in an interrogation room? At that time, I honestly did not even know what this was about.
All right, go.
Am I allowed to ask questions during this interview?
Absolutely.
You are now watching part 3 of my investigation on patterns of misconduct by the Fairfax County Police Department. If you want to see parts 1 and 2, links will be in the description below. When I first started this series, I never could have imagined what I'd find. All I wanted was to file a simple FOIA request of the dashcam footage of the incident on June 7, 2019, where 2 officers drew their guns on me in front of my house and illegally searched my vehicle.
Yeah, now that I'm asking for a FOIA request, all of a sudden, now everyone's giving me, it seems like it's just excuses. It seems that way because now it just doesn't make sense to me that it would take almost a year. If I filed it in June 26th, right? And it was already known about, why would it take all this time for them to do an investigation and review it? It's just a video of, it's open shut. Literally, there's 2 cops drawing their guns on me. That's what the video shows. I just want the video footage and I want the police reports on that. And that's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for anything else. I wasn't arrested or anything. It's not it's not an ongoing case that relates to me. I'm just asking for the video footage. That's all I want.
Due to the incompetence of many throughout the Fairfax County Police Department, I still do not have that dashcam footage, and all they keep doing is gaslighting me and making up excuses as to why I can't have it.
Yeah, no, but I haven't made a complaint about it. Yeah, I haven't officially.
You just stated that as
It's a statement. It's just making a statement of a fact. I mean, anyone that looks at it, if you look at it in the court of law, what a unreasonable search is, or searching your car illegally, that is searching my car illegally. You can't just.
Will be covered in the.
If I was under arrest, then you can do whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not under arrest. I'm being detained.
So yeah, but this will be covered.
What is the case law? 'Cause I would love to look that up.
We'll complete the investigation and it'll be included in it.
It'll be included. It'll be something versus something, right? And then it'll show that the cops are allowed to.
Protective suite. Yep. Look under protective suite.
For that reason, I decided to begin investigating the Fairfax County Police Department to see if I could find other victims of their misconduct. The case I'm about to describe to you may not seem like it relates to my case in any way at first, but please bear with me and listen closely. This is Victor Zeng. I met him randomly when I made an angry comment on the official Fairfax County Police Department Instagram page, describing my terrible experience with their internal affairs. Victor would continually respond to my comments and showed real concern. At the same time that I was talking to Victor, unbeknownst to him, I was making the part 1 and part 2 of this series. Eventually, we began following each other on Instagram, and that's when he realized I was a journalist exposing the misconduct of the Fairfax County Police Department. One day he messaged me on Instagram and shared a link. When I clicked the link, I could not believe my eyes. This is Victor Zeng's unfortunate experience with the Fairfax County Police Department. In 2013, Victor was falsely accused by an ex-girlfriend of rape. He was ultimately falsely arrested and spent 6 nights in jail, was made to spend $60,000 on lawyer fees, and faced the possibility of life in prison for a crime he did not commit.
It's a two-way conversation, Victor. You invited her to your house. You told her nobody was home.
And she gets there and there's nobody there. And you push her on the floor beside your bed, between the dresser and the bed. You push her down on the floor. You get on top of her. You hold her arms down where she can't move.
This never happened.
And then you tell her to get up, and she's not moving quick enough for you, so you grab her. She then shoves you off, and she stands up on her own, and she tries to walk past you. And you don't let her. You're standing in her way. She tells you to get out of her way. She's crying. She's saying to let her go, but you don't get out of her way. You then push her down on the bed and sexually assault her.
There are two key figures that I want to talk about in this video. First, Detective Darren DeCoster, and second, Captain Alan Hansen. And in case you didn't remember, Captain Alan Hansen is part of Internal Affairs and is the very same guy showing me the dashcam footage in part 2. Like I said before, Victor's story will eventually tie into mine. I recently had the chance to interview Victor about his case, and this is what he told me.
So I was in a relationship with a girl throughout my last year in high school and the beginning of college. She was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and on top of that, we're just teenagers, so we probably didn't handle our relationship in the most mature ways. We had a lot of fights, and there was also just a lot.
People do. Everyone.
Yep.
I mean, like most teenagers.
Yes, and there was just a lot of struggling in that relationship, and she and I were kind of figuring out what was best for ourselves. And then naturally, it sort of dissipated because I'm a year above her. When I was a freshman in college, she was still a senior in high school. And then the relationship eventually ended. But we kept in touch, and she was very angry with me for what she says is abandonment, because I chose to go to a college far from our hometown in Nova. I went to JMU my first year and then transferred to UVA my second year. And then it was July of 2013 that I got a call from my ex-girlfriend suddenly. And this call, the recorded call, is in the video that I've posted. She called me asking me to confess to something that happened in 2012, but she wasn't being specific about what. She said that I forced her to do something. And I even asked her directly that, are you saying that I raped you? Are you saying that I forced you to have sex with me? And she said, oh, no, it's not that. But it was clear that she was trying to push me in that direction.
18th, 2013, approximately 13:20 hours between me and Victor. Okay, this goes in your ear. Don't dial it yet. Okay, go ahead. Hello?
Hey, this is...
Yeah, what's up?
Is now good?
Now? No, it's not exactly the best time. When are you free again?
I have to... I don't think I'll be free for a while, so this is probably the only time. Like, you forced me to have sex with you and all that, and you, like, pushed me down, like... I was really scared. Like, why would you do that, you know?
We didn't have sex.
Yeah, we did.
Last spring? We haven't had sex since November.
At your house? Do you remember that? Like, I don't want to go into... I just...
Are you talking about senior? Are you talking about high school or junior year, my senior year?
No, well, including that, but I'm talking about... Yes. See, junior year, spring, and you kind of pushed me on the floor. I don't want to go into this, but I need.
I don't remember the incident. I don't remember ever forcing you to have sex with me.
Okay, I just don't want to go into this because I started, seeing somebody like asking my counselor, and he said if you want to move forward into friendship and all that, you gotta take this up with him and let him know how you feel. So I'm doing that. I'm going back.
So are you saying that I raped you?
I'm saying because of the things that happened in the past, because of what you did, it really, like, momentarily, especially, it had an impact on me. But then there are times when I think back, when I think about, chances of us going forward, and I just need to move past this, like, it may not seem a big deal to you, but it is a very, I don't know, it's a big deal for me because of what happened.
Oh no, I know the kind of impact I made on you, but I never raised you.
I then hung up on her. And then about less than a minute later, Detective Darren DeCoster from the Fairfax County Police Department calls me, yelling at me, screaming at me. At that time, I'm a 20-year-old guy, and I was just so intimidated and shocked, and I thought that my world was collapsing. I sort of had this idea that the phone call was totally not normal. She sounded like she was smiling, and it sounded scripted as well. Whatever she was saying sounded very unnatural. And when Detective DeCoster called me back, he said that I must go to the police station tomorrow for an interview, but it's an interrogation. And if I did not cooperate with him, he will arrest me on a slew of charges. So the next day, basically out of intimidation, and we didn't have time to find a lawyer. I obviously, in hindsight, shouldn't have gone to the interrogation, but I was naive. I assumed that I could go to the police, explain my side of the story. They'll do a fair investigation. Maybe he's just being rough because that's what policemen have to do. In the interview, in the interrogation, Detective DeCoster was almost immediately hostile. He repeatedly asked me to confess to a crime that I did not commit. He would not answer any of my questions, or he would not allow me to even share my story. There's one segment, and I even posted this in my YouTube video. I explained that my ex-girlfriend has a personality disorder. He immediately dismisses that and asks me, Victor, do you have a personality disorder? He was not interested in understanding my side of the story. He was interested in procuring any information that might make it easier to get a conviction and to force a confession out of me. And there's one statement that will never leave me. I remember the quote verbatim. Maybe in your family's culture, and I understand it, women are seen as second-class citizens or something like that. I don't know. And he said that to me towards the beginning of their interrogation.
She's saying to let her go, but you don't get out of her way. You then push her down on the bed and sexually assault her. That's the story as she tells it. Maybe in your family's culture, and I understand it, women are kind of looked at as second-class citizens or something like that in your eyes. I don't know.
From that interrogation in July to that phone call in October, I just hear nothing from the police department, and Detective DeCoster randomly calls me. And then I hang up on him. And then on October 3rd, at around 3:30 p.m., I am arrested. When I went to my bail hearing, when the judge and the county are determining whether I should be out on the streets on bail, Detective DeCoster was supposed to show up to that bail hearing, and to this day, it's still a mystery why he did not show up. My lawyer said that he would definitely show up because, in general, especially for an accused rapist and abductor, you want to keep these people in jail. You want to do your best efforts to go to that bail hearing and tell the judge, this is why this person should not be out on the streets. DeCoster was not there. The stand was empty. The prosecutor was really confused that day. She even tried calling DeCoster and told the judge, I tried to call the detective, but he didn't pick up my calls, so I have nothing on this case. I don't know anything about the defendant, Mr. Zeng. And obviously I was granted bail. And that's the paradox I deal with. It's that they were supposed to try harder to keep me in jail, and it was so easy to get me to jail and get me arrested and put me through this traumatic experience. But at the same time, they didn't take it seriously after the arrest. About 3 days before, if I recall correctly, it was 3 days before my preliminary hearing. My preliminary hearing was set for November 15th of 2013. We got all the files I can't say all the files, but we got the prosecution's files. And it was a joke. I remember laughing and crying at the same time when I saw the case the detective put together. And it's explained more articulately and more vividly in my video because I actually shared the samples of the files in that video. You see an interview with the complainant, my ex-girlfriend.
So your best guess would be in March of 2012?
Best guess, but it's a guess.
Again, this is spring of 2012. From then until this year, July of this year, when you reported this, did you have any other kind of intimate contact with him. You said no sex. I don't want to read into it, but somebody else could. What do you mean by that? Okay, there was no sex, but was there something else? Was there kissing or touching? Or?
As in, nothing physical.
We also discovered that in the prosecution's file that there was a phone call between Detective DeCoster and one of Jenny's friends named Hassan. And in Hassan's call, first, he's very hesitant to go to trial because he makes up some shitty excuse of, I got homework to do and I got to study. If your friend has been raped, then you're a pretty shitty friend if you're saying that, sorry, I'm not going to go to court because I got to finish my physics homework. You're a pretty shitty friend,
right?
If that's the case.
Right.
And his story did not have any parallels with.
She texted me saying, can I give her a ride? And I wasn't doing anything at the time. So I picked her up from school, and apparently she was running away from something, but she was, like, panting when I picked her up. And she's like, can you just drive me somewhere? So I drove her to a parking lot behind our old school. And I asked her what happened because she was crying. And she told me that her ex-boyfriend, Victor, he forced her to come with her, like coerced her to come to his house. And she's always very reluctant to go to his house, but he told her apparently that his mom would be home and nothing funny would happen. And because he goes to Virginia Tech, and so he wasn't around as much. By the time the conversation was done, I dropped her off at her house, and she said that to tell her parents to file a police report. I thought she did that like in April or March, around that date. I don't remember the month specifically.
Let me ask you, if it got to a point where we were going to end up going to court over this, would you be willing to testify and basically just say what you just told me? If need be, is that something you can do?
Depends on what point and how it happens, because I really want to focus on my studies, and I feel like the court case would take place in McLean or in the Nova region.
Yeah, in Fairfax.
Yeah, I don't know if I can make the trip for one court case, especially if school's going on.
Well,
I really don't. I hate to do this to her. I really do. I thought, yeah.
They were off by a year because they claimed that she was raped sometime between March 1st and June 1st of 2012, which is crazy that you can make an accusation and not remember a specific month of when it happened. I think that's crazy. Of course, people will say, well, victims of sexual assault don't quite remember the details. It's very traumatic. Okay, but how can you say that this horrible thing happened to me sometime in the spring and summer of 2012? That was her accusation. That was her timeline. She refused to give a specific date. And then Hassan says that it happened in 2013. So they're off by a year. Hassan said he witnessed the rape in 2013. He said that he picked her up after it happened in 2013. He says that this happened in 2012 when she was a junior and I was a senior in high school. Hassan's saying that this happened when I was away at college, which wouldn't make sense because if the story somehow happened in 2013, I would not be home in Northern Virginia. I would be in Harrisonburg. So it was just this plethora of illogical details that it's so hard to keep up with. It was not coherent. It didn't matter if they were going to go with Hassan's story or with his story because their stories were different. And it's just crazy that there are two conflicting stories that DeCoster or the police are going off on, and it was enough to procure a warrant. Our defense was very thorough, and we had a lot more to provide, but we showed about 3 months of text messages out of a total of over 40,000, and basically records of our communication between me and Jenny every day, which one generally reveal where we were, and two, it shows that we were in a relationship, which Jenny denied. Jenny denied that she was ever in a relationship with me. She said that I was a stranger that was over infatuated with her, a very typical borderline personality disorder symptom and anecdote.
Wow.
And then basically Detective DeCoster, when he saw the text, we had 3 huge files of the text messages, one for each month, almost to kind of satirize and roast them for that silly timeline they provided. So we had all the text messages between me and Jenny from in March of 2013, April of 2013, May of 2013, and we added another month. We added June. because she said March 1st to June 1st of 2012. And we had all the text messages between me and her in that month. And if we weren't in a relationship, and why would we be texting this much? And because there's so much communication, it generally reveals where we both are every single day. So we could refute her. It doesn't matter if she kept switching between, oh, it actually happened March 2nd or March 3rd or March 4th or March 5th. We could basically refute every day because we had electronic records of where I was. And also, I was a high school athlete in school. I wasn't barely home after school. I practiced practically every day. Anyway, those are getting to the intrinsic details. And then eventually, the prosecutor asked Jenny to explain the text messages. Oh, we also provided a polygraph report that I took independently. And of course, some legal experts will say, well, polygraphs are not admissible, blah, 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 but they could still be considered by a jury, yada, yada, yada. But we just did that to kind of provide further doubt in the prosecutors and DeCoster's case. So we provided the text messages, my polygraph report, and basically the prosecutor, Jessica Grace Edwardson, talked to Jenny, talked to DeCoster. I did not witness this conversation, but it's summarized to me, basically saying, what the hell is happening? DeCoster was just playing on his phone, and Jenny was basically switching between dates. And she just said, I can't remember, was it 2012, 2013? She couldn't decide. So the prosecutor said, okay, I'm just going to drop the charges. And charges were dropped at the preliminary hearing, which, according to the overwhelming majority of legal experts I've spoken to, is very unusual.
The blatant lack of actual police work by Detective Darren DeCoster is deplorable. He had overwhelming evidence that proved Victor Zeng was innocent of this crime, yet he still falsely arrested Victor. Now, this ties into Captain Alan Hansen of Internal Affairs, mainly because when Victor made his own video on the Fairfax County Police Department misconduct, he himself was contacted by Internal Affairs. Victor would explain to Internal Affairs his claims of misconduct, citing that Detective Darren DeCoster made comments during his interrogation that referred to his race and culture. He would tell Internal Affairs that Detective Darren DeCoster did very poor police work, if any at all, and would eventually falsely arrest him. Finally, after the Internal Affairs investigation was complete, Captain Alan Hansen and his buddies at Internal Affairs would send Victor the conclusion to the quote-unquote investigation, to which they concluded Detective Darren DeCoster's actions were lawful and in compliance with FCPD regulations. I tried getting in contact with Detective Darren DeCoster and wanted to ask him questions regarding this case. Unfortunately, around a week before I began this investigation on this story, Darren DeCoster supposedly retired. If Detective Darren DeCoster was able to do this to Victor and get away with it unscathed, then who knows how many other victims there are serving time right now because of Detective Darren DeCoster's incompetence and egotistical nature. One could argue Captain Alan Hansen is equally incompetent at his job. I think it would be very interesting to see how many complaints that are under Captain Alan Hansen's supervision that actually find the officers involved guilty of any misconduct or punishment. I'll take a wild guess and say probably not many. The code of silence within a police department like the Fairfax County Police Department is deeply rooted in the leadership and culture within. In conclusion to this whole entire video, there is enough evidence here to believe that incompetency and misconduct is running rampant at the Fairfax County Police Department. A huge thank you to Victor Zeng for sharing his unbelievable story with me. I highly recommend you go to his YouTube channel and check out the video he made on his false arrest and how it completely has changed his perspective on the police. He goes into great detail, so please check out his video and let him know ASD Doc sent you. What happened to him is disgusting to say the least, and the people responsible need to be brought to justice. That includes the accuser, the detective, the prosecutor, and anyone else acting on behalf of the Fairfax County Police Department. No one should have to go through such a traumatic event and not receive any closure. I'm glad I have a platform to share stories like this. This is why I do what I do. This has been an ASD Docs investigation. Thanks for watching.
When you made your video, when you got accused and stuff, that is so well edited, man. What do you use?
Adobe Premiere.
Okay. You taught yourself how to use it?
I taught myself.
You did such a great job. I'm telling you, if you made a YouTube channel just dedicated to your commentary like that, oh my gosh, you would have, I'm telling you, in a few years, you'd have millions of subscribers. I'm telling you that 1,000,000%. You have a skill, you have a talent in storytelling. I always say in the journalism as well, I always talk about
It's a storytelling. You have to tell a story. No one's gonna care if your story isn't interesting. And you did such a great job putting it all together and how you did it. Because I was so intrigued. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. So I can't wait for your next video, man. When you finally come out with everything, because I know it's gonna be fantastic.